Good evening, fancy endgame family, and welcome back. We're in the house here, and by we, I mean the three of us. We got our boy Keith back again, talk football, because what could be better? We got football going on in just a couple of hours, but not before we break down what happened on Sunday and even Thursday night. So first and foremost, Keith, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. How about y'all?
Good. Hey, not too bad. Not too bad. I think it was a pretty good week overall. Chris, you think you'd agree? Most of our booms boomed, and feel like it went pretty closely according to how we figured it would.
For the most part, there's always surprises, injuries, busts, but yeah, it was definitely, I think, a good, especially after week 10, which was horrendous. Week 11 was much better.
Week 10, yeah, I tried to forget about that. Week 10 was one of those weeks, but this was a good week. I mean, a lot of points, a lot of goodness in the fantasy world. Started Thursday, so I do want to go back to that because we had this little debate, a little bit, I think it's a mild debate before, and I think now we're going to have a vigorous debate afterwards about Jayden Daniels. All right, so the Eagles have a good defense, right? The Eagles have a very good pass defense. It's improving. They have some good young corners like Quinion Mitchell, but this is not the first game that Jayden Daniels has been slightly disappointing. He's not running nearly as much. The rib injury may be partly to blame, but also a lot of people very quick to point the finger back to Cliff Kingsbury because this is kind of a trend over the years with Cliff Kingsbury offenses. So let's start. I know we've gone back and forth on this, Chris and I. Keith, What is your panic level on Jayden Daniels, if any?
I wouldn't say it's panic. I would say he's a low-end QB1 that could move out of that range on a bad matchup and move maybe a little bit up on a good matchup. The concerns, like you said, are definitely the rib injury. He's running less, but also who's the wide receiver two on this offense? Who's going to step up and catch some passes when Terry McLaurin is double covered? We saw Olamide Zacchaeus, Diami Brown. We saw a bunch of their receivers just drop passes and just not fill the void. That's kind of where Zach Ertz and Austin Eckler have kind of stepped up and been the pass catching backs. But these guys are only going to be able to get small yard plays. Jayden Daniels is a guy who relies on throwing it deep. So if we don't have a guy other than Terry who can catch a couple deep balls, this offense might be a little bit in trouble, depending on, again, the matchup and how good the opposing defense is at covering these guys.
All right, so Chris, do you blame injury? Do you blame Cliff? Do you blame, sounds like Keith's pointing out maybe the lack of, maybe not depth, but the lack of a quality number two option on offense. Do you think it's that, or do you think it's the schedule, or what do you think it is?
I think it's probably all of the above, honestly. I know it's not the answer people normally want to hear. It's just, we just like to blame something, right? Like that's why. That is why. But a lot of times that's not really the case. Rib injury, sure, because he has been running less since the rib injury, but he's still running like 7-8 times a game, which should be more than enough to get him 30 to 40 rushing yards. So yeah, he's not running quite as much, but he's still running a lot. Like there's not a lot of QBs that run the ball 7 or 8 times a game. Certainly, especially last week with Terry McLaurin getting completely shut down and erased by Quinion Mitchell, we saw that there, like he said, there is no other wide receiver, like Noah Brown, Zacchaeus, Diami Brown, whoever. There is no other wide receiver two that can step up. All the throws last week primarily went to tight ends and running backs. So that's never going to be a good recipe for an offensive juggernaut. But like you said, the last Steelers, Eagles, two of the best pass defenses. Gets the Cowboys this week. I'm not done with Jayden Daniels yet. I'm not ready to I'm not going to go out and stream Sam Darnold or Aaron Rodgers. You know what I mean? Like some of these guys over Jayden Daniels just yet. If it's another bad game against the Cowboys, yeah, I'll definitely panic level will go way up for sure. But I think it's probably all the above. But at the same time, we can't forget what this guy did for 9 weeks of the season and then just be like, well, that's it after 2 down games.
True. On the one hand, he hasn't been horrific or anything like that. He's not throwing 3 interceptions in a game. He's just not being elite for fantasy like we want him to. Yeah, it'd be nice if it was just simple. There's just one thing, right? It's there. That's what it is. But like you said, it's usually a combination. I think also another thing to throw in the mix there, part of it is they're good at running the ball. Brian Robinson has been good. Austin Eckler is starting to get better as the season goes on. Jeremy McNichols has actually looked half decent when they call on him. So they don't need Daniels to be everything in the offense. And the defense has gotten better. And that's, I think, one of the biggest differences. People don't connect the two. But early in the season, the Washington defense looked like the 2023 Washington defense. They were giving up chunks of points, especially in the passing game. And all of a sudden, Dan Quinn's got that defense, pretty much the way he wants it. They don't need to throw it as much. They don't need to make those big chunk plays. They don't need to take as many chances because their defense is actually defending. So I think it's probably a combination of 6, 7 different things. So all told, though, I can't say I don't know if I'll have Jayden Daniels as a must start anymore because the defense probably will still be pretty good unless something happens and it collapses. The running backs are still pretty good, all told. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see though. But this is why we can't get too carried away right early in the season. Like that's it, rookie of the year, he's got it, MVP. Things tend to change.
Yes.
Things have changed in a different way for Anthony Richardson. Just as soon as we all wrote him off and he was dropped in a lot of leagues, rightfully so, are we now going to see the Anthony Richardson we expected to see? Or are you going to, once again, Chris, do the reasonable thing and be patient and wait and assess?
I'm going to be patient, wait, and assess. But if Anthony Richardson is on my waiver wire and I'm not at all confident in my QB1, meaning I don't have Lamar, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, or Joe Burrow, then I'm adding Anthony Richardson. I'm probably not starting him this week, but I'm adding him because this isn't just, it wasn't just that, okay, got the win, whatever, but this is 3 straight games now where he's had 32, 45, and 56 rushing yards. So even before the absurd benching, he was starting to run the football the way we wanted. Now we got 2 rushing touchdowns this week, which is great. That's really what it's always been for Anthony Richardson, right? It's not, oh, this guy's not throwing for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns like Joe Burrow. It's like, that's okay because he's running for 30, 40, 50 yards. Not ready to proclaim he's back or he's going to be in my lineup. But if I have like I said, any quarterback that I didn't just name, which is only 4 guys, I'm at least adding them to my bench if I can.
I'm not quite at that point yet. If my QB is either underperforming or not doing well, I think I would look into Anthony Richardson. But I am not holding out a ton of hope for him to duplicate that performance. So he gets the Lions this coming week. Good matchup. Then he follows that up with 3 pretty brutal matchups. What was it? Yeah, Patriots, Broncos, and Titans before he gets week 17 against the Giants, which would be a nice little championship matchup. But got to make it that far first. And those matchup, so maybe he does well this week. Great. Week 14. I think he's on a bye week 14 as well. Yes, he is. Yeah, so you're going to get Anthony Richardson for a matchup against the Lions. If you're not starting him there, I don't know if I want to start him for the rest of the season unless he has like a baller performance. Now, the one reason I have hope on him is Josh Downs. Josh Downs, I think, is a better receiver than Michael Pittman at this point. Michael Pittman's playing through a back injury. He's looked hobbled all year. I don't expect that to change at any point throughout the rest of the season. So maybe he does a little bit better offensively, but as far as rushing up to drop all the fab on him for a QB, I'm not entirely on board just yet. The matchups rest of the season scare me, but he's probably worth an ad if you've got, say, like Deontay Johnson or a good cut candidate.
Yeah, and I mean, anybody, of course, watching here, you probably already saw the waiver video, and mentioned with AR. I think he's the best quarterback pickup, and not because necessarily has a smash spot in week 12. I mean, the Lions will give up points, on the outside for as far as passing quarterbacks, but that's not the appeal with Anthony Richardson, the passing. It's more as a runner. But I still think he's got more upside than any quarterback, that's probably out there. And I look at guys like Stafford, it seems obvious. He just threw 4 touchdowns. He's not going to do that every week, but also he's got a tough matchup this week against the Eagles. I don't expect a big Stafford week. Caleb Williams against the Vikings. I don't expect a big Caleb Williams week. And by the way, even though they almost won, he really didn't have good fantasy numbers. Like real life, Caleb Williams looked better, but he's still not doing it for fantasy. I mean, it's just, I prefer AR. But I will say this, Keith, you brought up a great point. He'll be good for 2 weeks, but then if you start your playoffs in week 14, bye Broncos, Titans. That's not really good for a quarterback. So I would proceed with caution, just relying on him all the way down the stretch. But I still think I trust him more than Sam Darnold. All right. Now, here's the ultimate test of trust. And I was glad I didn't have to talk about Taysom Hill on the waiver wire video because the Saints are off next week. But still getting questions. Do I stash Taysom Hill? Is Taysom Hill the GOAT? Taysom Hill, fantasy MVP down the stretch. How do you answer that, Keith?
I think if you do not have an elite tight end, and we're talking elite as far as Trey McBride, Cade Otton, David Njoku, elite tight ends. Yeah, I would even stash him if I've got this past week. I'd stash him if I had Kelsey. I'd stash him if I had Mark Andrews as well. I think if Taysom Hill is on waivers, you need to go get him. Reason for that is this Saints team is so depleted across the board. Taysom Hill is pretty much their de facto running back 2. Jamal Williams has been terrible all year. We got Kendra Miller. He is on IR, and their receiving core, they're not throwing to their wide receivers at all. Their leading targets are their 3 tight ends that they have on the Saints. And last week, Taysom Hill led the team in catches. Do I think he's going to continue to put up monster games like that every week? No. But the Swiss Army knife appeal and just how depleted the Saints are, I think he's kind of their go-to comfort blanket for a short yard play. I would be grabbing Taysom Hill wherever I can get him if he's on waivers.
Yeah, I'm going to have to reluctantly agree with Keith here. Taysom Hill is the outlier. We talk about Derrick Henry being a unicorn. Taysom Hill is 34 years old. Like, how is Taysom Hill still even in the end? How is this guy even still in the NFL, let alone doing what he is doing? But, I mean, you look at it last week, 10 targets for Taysom Hill. Nobody else had, at least as far as like wide receivers or tight ends go, had even more than 4. In the 2 games with Rizzy, the Saints have looked rejuvenated. They looked, I don't want to say like the team we saw weeks 1 and 2, but they look much better than the teams we saw after weeks 1 and 2. So, yeah, obviously he's not going to get you 40 points every game. He's not going to have a 75-yard rushing touchdown every game. But, man, any tight end getting this kind of usage, and it's not just the receiving. It's just not just the targets and the receptions. It's the fact that he does also get carries. He could score on the ground and through the air. Like every other tight end has to score through the air pretty much. Taysom gives you 2 ways to score. So, yeah, I think like Keith said, unless I have, McBride, Bowers, I still like Kelsey, even though he sucked last night. Kelsey, Otton, and Kittle. Maybe Njoku. But even then, I might still add Taysom if I have those guys, even if I don't plan to start them, just so my opponents don't get them, or maybe you can even flex them. But if I don't have those tight ends, yeah, just give me Taysom rest of the season, honestly.
Here's the thing with Taysom Hill. On the one hand, like we have to recognize the new coach, Darren Rizzi, he was a special teams coach. we should have known, right? Like, of course he's going to use Taysom Hill. But here's why nobody saw it coming. I mean, you could never see that coming. But why last week with Dennis Allen gone, why last week did Taysom Hill do absolutely nothing? He was only targeted twice, and he carried the ball 4 times. He did nothing. That's why we're like, yeah, okay, it's Taysom Hill. Like, you already know. That's Taysom Hill. It's like,
True.
It's all or nothing. It's 40 points or it's like 2 points. Like, there is no in between, and you never know what's going to happen. And I don't think that's going to change. Like, I really don't think it's going to change. But on the other hand, you're like, okay, I could roll out, I don't know, Hunter Henry, a guy like that. I'll get my 7 points. Or I could say, you know what? Ride or die. I'm getting 2 or I'm getting 40, and I'm putting Taysom Hill in there. So what would you rather have? I guess we should say Taysom Hill.
Yep.
Yep. Playing scared does not win championships. That's for sure.
That's right. That's right.
Exactly. All right. Now, speaking of playing scared tonight, the Cowboys are going to be on TV, and they get the Texans. It's a battle for the Lone Star State. Expectations here, and are the Cowboys possibly going to get routed and embarrassed again? Do they have any fight left in them, I think, is the only question here. And is CeeDee Lamb on the verge of becoming a 10 out of 10 on the panic meter?
Potential's there. Potential is absolutely there. I'm willing to give Cooper Rush at least a maybe pass for last week's performance because the Eagles' defense has been that good lately. So maybe he does a little bit better against the Texans, but it's not like the Texans are slouches on defense either. Now, granted, they don't have Will Anderson this week, so their pass rush isn't going to be all that good. But I still expect CeeDee Lamb to get peppered with targets. The question is whether or not those targets are going to be anything good. And there's no fixing the Cowboys defense. They're going to get slaughtered. And the Texans offense has got Nico Collins back. Welcome back, Nico. And welcome back, hopefully, to good fantasy numbers. And hopefully to you too, CJ Stroud.
Yeah, I don't have high hopes for the Cowboys tonight. I don't know if they're going to get slaughtered. I'm not sure that this version of the Texans can slaughter people, to be honest. But I think they're gonna lose pretty comfortably. I'll say that they're gonna lose pretty comfortably. CD, yeah, panic level. I'm very, very. I'm obviously interested to see Nico Collins back in action, of course, but I'm also very interested to see CeeDee Lamb tonight. This to me is kind of like a make or break for CeeDee's rest of season value. If he can go out there tonight and have even a decent game, then it's like, okay, maybe we can feel okay about CeeDee Lamb going forward. But if it's another, 20-yard game, 30-yard game, something like that, yeah, panic 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10.
Yeah. No, if it's that bad, if it's anything like last week, yeah, absolutely. Got to worry. And then, unfortunately, a lot of leagues, the trade deadline will be passed. So you kind of are stuck with CeeDee Lamb, which is not what you expected to say when you drafted him first or second overall, but that's just the reality. The thing here is, Jerry Jones is usually pretty loyal to his, I would say nicely, his coaches that he handpicks. And I don't think that we'll see McCarthy get canned midseason, even if they get, rolled tonight. But my worry is that maybe just he's lost the team, right? Kind of like a Doug Peterson situation. And the Jags are bad, right? But they have talent. And you see what happens when the guys aren't all bought in. It doesn't matter who you got on both sides of the ball. If the team is not motivated, they will get embarrassed. So that's what I'm curious to see. Is this team really checked out, especially after what Micah Parsons said, and it's just this team does not seem too motivated. So we'll see what happens tonight. But a lot of you might still have some skin in the game, might have some players going tonight, or maybe some questions tonight. And I already see our very first one. It relates to both Nico Collins and CeeDee Lamb, and we will answer all your questions. So let's get to that. But first, remind everybody that you also have just a little bit of time, a little over an hour before kickoff. You can get this free pick. I know most of you are already on Underdog here, but maybe some of you aren't. We've had a lot of new viewers lately, so thank you to all of you. If you didn't know, we partner with Underdog. I'm sure you've heard of them, but maybe you haven't tried them yet. If you are brand new signing up to Underdog right now, you can get this free pick for tonight. CJ Stroud, just getting a yard, right? You sign up for the first time in Underdog, you get CJ Stroud higher than 0.5 total yards. Trust me, take the higher. And you get that if you sign up as a new customer and you use code ENDGAME at checkout. You also get the 50% deposit match, up to $1,000 worth of bonus cash in your account upon your initial deposit. Just make sure you use code ENDGAME when you sign up. And as we answer these questions, also, you may not know we have an app. It's called Draft Lane, and it connects you with us, just like you ask your questions here on the live streams. You ask your questions on Draft Lane, we answer them, give you feedback, and you can sync your Yahoo and Sleeper leagues with it. So it's very cool. Get your start to sit waiver wire, trade questions if you can still do that, and more. So download Draft Lane and try it out. And who would be first other than Sir Boomer? So, despite, for some inexplicable reason, not starting Will Dissly and others, he's still up 27 and has Nico to go against the Dallas kicker and CeeDee Lamb. Cooked? Not cooked.
Definitely not cooked.
Yeah, far, far, far from cooked. About that, I was going to say more like you're sleeping comfortably in a warm, soft blanket. Yeah, I don't see you losing this unless CD is somehow unlocked by Cooper Rush. And granted, this is fantasy football. We've seen wacky things happen, a la Taysom Hill, but you're not losing this unless Nico just completely collapses and CD actually has a great game.
Yeah, even if CD goes for 27, let's say, and erases your lead, like Nico has to lose to a kicker. So, I mean, it could happen, but yeah, you're good.
Yeah, Chris Boswell certainly cost some people some wins for sure.
Yes.
And then every other kicker missing left and right. It's
right.
Just as if you needed a reason not to play kickers in your fantasy league. I think yesterday definitely proved that. Man, Bengals fans, I think they're ready to hunt down Evan McPherson. And anyways, don't play with kickers. So this also, thank you, Kenny. That's right. The legend is just going to grow. The legend of Will Dissly.
Yes.
Let's get to this though. Sir Boomer also is tilted. Yes, the kids do still say that about everybody in the Browns passing game going off except for Cedric Tillman, because of course, didn't see that necessarily coming, but of course we can never be surprised. This is why, despite how many points Tillman had been putting up, as of late, we had him, Chris, as a solid, but not a sure thing, not a strong star. He's like, look, he's still kind of a risky flex play, right?
I had him borderline strong start, and we had him on the booms. So maybe the only guy who didn't boom that we put on the booms this week. The worrisome thing here this week, when you look at it, like you look at the target shares, and look, I'll say this, I definitely was right about Judy. Now I didn't have Judy booming, but I said Judy, hey, I think Judy's a good start this week. He had 11 targets the week before. I think this week he had 10 targets, which led the team. But here's the problem. Nobody is really standing out as far as like the guy. So you had Judy with 10 targets, Elijah Moore with 8, and Njoku with 9, and Tillman with 8. That's a lot of mouths to feed. That's 4 guys. Now, they threw the ball a ton because they were playing from behind. But what happens in the games where, like, let's say this week, where they play the Steelers, and they probably aren't going to have to throw the ball 35, 40 times? How do and now 4 guys are trying to split up this target share. How does it work? So, yeah, Tillman, I still think Tillman is going to be startable going forward. But in matchups, like this, I mean, the whole, he's just going to be volatile. He's going to be volatile.
Yep. Yeah, I think the entire receiving room of the Browns is going to be pretty volatile. Pretty much the reasons you just said, Chris. The nobody's standing out on this team. So hard to say who's going to be the guy. It's the same problem we have with the Packers offense. Good luck figuring out which guy's going to boom from 1 week to the next. That said, I mean, it's a little encouraging to see Jameis Winston throw as much as he did, at least for fantasy numbers. Is he going to be all that successful in the weeks ahead? He's got a brutal schedule, so I'm not sure. But they may have to pass because Nick Chubb does not look good out there at all, and their defense is not great either. So they may be kind of be in forced shootouts, kind of like the Bengals, the other Ohio team.
That is true. This segues to the very next question. I think it's a good one. Suni, for this week, Cedric Tillman or Devontae Smith, another player just can't get that big game. I don't know where the big games are for him, but what do you do this week, Keith? Tillman or Devontae?
Who are the Eagles playing? Let me just check that.
They get the Rams. They get the
Rams. Yeah, and they tough one. I think I'm going Tillman here just to see whether or not I think there's going to be more passes fed to Tillman. The Eagles have just been so good that they can just grind out with Saquon and just throw to A.J. Brown, and that's not leaving a lot of leftovers for Devonta Smith to really get a hold of. Maybe he gets a few more balls that Goddard would have gotten, but hasn't gotten a lot of hasn't caught a lot of passes either. But yeah, Tillman I think will be more of the focal point of it, even with him not really showing out last week. I think I would prefer Tillman over Smith next week.
Yeah, I think I'd sadly have to go Tillman over Smith too. Like Keith said, the Eagles just don't need to throw the ball a lot, and Saquon and Hurts getting all the touchdowns here. It's even affected A.J. Brown. I know nobody is talking. I'm trying to get people to talk about A.J. Brown, but nobody wants to talk about A.J. Brown. 3 of the last 4 weeks outside the top 30 wide receivers, his best finish in the last 4 weeks is wide receiver 17. But I get it. He's A.J. Brown, so fine. He gets a pass for, I guess, the rest of the season. We'll see. But Smith does not get the pass. So, yeah, I mean, this could go either way, honestly, but I'd probably have to go Tillman over Smith.
Yeah, this is a tough one. This is a very good question, Sunit. It's like I want to say it's Devontae Smith. I feel like it should be Devontae Smith, but how many weeks in a row can I keep saying that? So let's just go Tillman here. Cody, no sweat. He's up 200 to 105, the first to crack 200 in his league. And no surprise, because I remember Cody's got a stacked team. All right, so looking ahead, Kansas City against the Panthers or Denver against the Raiders for defense?
I don't know if you can go wrong here, but I'd probably just go KC against Bryce Young.
I think I would lean KC as well. Vegas does sometimes put up some points every now and then. They always seem to lose, but they're always kind of in games, at least for a little bit. I'd go KC. They're going to be angry after a loss.
Yeah, they should be angry. I mean, these are both good choices. I feel like somebody, I don't know if it was Cody or maybe it was somebody else, asked this exact same question in the Discord today, because I feel like I saw this today. And it's close, but I think I actually said Denver because, man, I feel like the Raiders now might be the worst offense in the league, worse than Carolina. At least they got Chuba Hubbard. The Raiders have probably Amir Abdullah because both their running backs got hurt. Gardner Minshew versus Bryce Young. I think I'll take Bryce Young. So it's close. I mean, these are both good options, but that's what I had said earlier. NTY is just dropping in to say thanks for the golf call. Yeah, I think he came through. Chris, you get credit on that because, he should have known. Look, we didn't talk about this. We should have known Russ was a trap, right? Russell Wilson.
Russ.
We should have known.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if we could be faulted for Russ. Like, come on, at home against Baltimore, like that was too good of a spot. But I will say I was nervous for Goff at first because it was like, David Montgomery touchdown, Jahmyr Gibbs touchdown, David Montgomery touchdown. I'm like, oh, great. This is going to be a game where like Monty and Gibbs get 4 touchdowns and Goff gets 0. But Dan Campbell does not care.
I think he does not care. And that's what I was worried about. That's exactly why I said, like, they're going to be up big. They're going to run the ball so well. They won't need to pass. And they didn't. But they did anyways. That's what's crazy. It's like Dan Campbell's like, I do not care. And I love that.
Dan Campbell's like, what's the score? 100-0? Throw the foot, like throw. Let's run like a triple reverse flea flicker option. You know what I mean? Like this is Dan Campbell, just like he just never stops, right? He just doesn't know how to stop. Like I'm guessing that's how he is in his entire life. Like he just does not know how to stop. So yeah, it's I talked about it on tonight's video coming out after the game. Like the Lions are just a fantasy goldmine because game script doesn't matter. Whether they're blowing the team out, it doesn't matter. It's fantasy gold for everybody in this offense.
Yeah, Dan Campbell just does not know the meaning of let up. He's just all go all the time, get pedal to the metal. He's here to make sure your team loses badly.
Yes.
Lions fans got a lot. He plays or he coaches the game like this. The way I play Madden, basically. Like just we're running up the score and we don't feel bad about it. So congrats, got first place. Good job, NTY. All right, so Moises says he's got offered J.K. Dobbins for Connor. This is the depth trade, basically, because he doesn't really need him. So who do you prefer as of right now, Dobbins or Connor?
I pretty strongly prefer Connor. I know Dobbins had a nice game last night, but I have some serious concerns with Dobbins, namely, number one, Haskins got the first 2 goal line carries last night. It wasn't until he got stuffed twice that they finally gave it to Dobbins, and Dobbins scored. And going into the midway of the third quarter, we had seen very little Dobbins last night and a lot of Gus Edwards. Now, he did have that long touchdown at the end to kind of save his day, but I have some serious concerns for Dobbins. Not to mention the Chargers are now one of the pass-heaviest teams, becoming one of the pass-heaviest teams in the NFL. They're not even a run-heavy team anymore. Give me Connor.
Agreed. Yeah, Dobbins. So Gus Edwards had the first carry last night. So that kind of tells me that they do not want to lean on Dobbins. They don't want him to be the first guy out there. He'll catch a few balls here and there, but Connor, he has no real backfield competition whatsoever. No durability concerns. He's coming off a bye. He should be fresh. And yeah, doesn't have to deal with a Hassan Haskins vulture at the goal line. Sure, he's got Kyler Murray, but that's, yeah, Connor by a pretty hefty margin here.
Yeah, I'll make it 3. I'll go Connor. It's pretty close. J.K. Dobbins just won't go away. Every time you think he's going to have a bad game, he rips off a long run, gets a touchdown. So I can't doubt him anymore. But yeah, I don't think I would give away Connor for Dobbins. It's not helping your team in any way anyways. Dylan Aston is down 12 with the Texans D. What do you think?
You got a chance, but that's a big defense game. It is Cooper Rush and the Cowboys, though. But that's a pretty big defensive game.
Yeah, that's a lot to ask for. You're essentially hoping for a pick six or a scoop and score type of play. You do have a chance. It is Cooper Rush. It is Rico Dowdle and Zeke. But yeah, that's 12 from a defense is tough. It's tough.
Yeah, I mean, you clearly have a chance. It's a decent chance. It's not a great chance, but you definitely have a chance. I mean, the Cowboys offense, the way they're going, I'd say better chance than you would have a couple weeks ago. So other John, I did discuss this on the waiver video, so you hadn't seen the Jonnu Smith part. It's got to be, right? That's definitely got to be part of the reason, but I don't think it's the whole reason. Is there more to this, Chris?
I think there's a few things. I think definitely Jonnu Smith. I think definitely Devon Achane, because they are both ahead of him as far as target share goes. But I also think if you go back to Jalen Waddle, his first couple years in the league, he played a lot out of the slot. He doesn't play in the slot anymore. Like hardly ever in the slot in this offense. He's just primarily on the outside. I think I think he could do well from being moved into the slot, but they don't move him into the slot much these days. So I think certainly Jonnu Smith a big part, Devon Achane a big part, and then just the fact that they just ask him to play on the outside primarily. I think all those things.
Yeah, gonna say Chris pretty much hit all the reasons right there. But yes, Jonnu Smith is absolutely part of the reason. I do wonder if there's an injury or something we don't know about with Waddle, but yeah, as far as Jonnu Smith being a part of the equation here, he's a big part of it for sure. Yeah. Like Waddle isn't even getting targeted as much as OBJ. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
going down as a bust this year, no doubt about it.
Yeah, it's too late. I mean, honestly, unless he happens to have a George Pickens like end to the season with somehow 3 straight monster games during the fantasy playoffs, which I don't expect, but unless that happens, he's already a bust. Like he just is.
Yeah, but even then, it's great. It's great when a guy does that, but chances are 90% of the teams that drafted that guy aren't even in the fantasy playoffs.
Yeah.
Just about to say that. Yeah.
It's like how many teams did George Pickens actually help win a championship last year? Like unless you had a really good team and George Pickens happened to be on it.
Yeah. You know, he helped best ball teams. That's where he helped the most.
Yes. Well, yeah, again, if you had teams advance with George Pickens, yes. That's always the thing, right? It's like like those guys can do it, but yeah, that's the thing. If you I in our PPR league, I drafted Jalen Waddle, I drafted Hollywood Brown, I drafted Devonta Smith, Mark Andrews, Patrick Mahomes. Like it doesn't matter what these guys do in the fantasy playoffs because I'm not going to be in the fantasy playoffs.
Right. Yeah, you got to hit on at least a couple of players. Jalen Waddle is not one. All right, Gabriel, good evening. Fighting for the bye. There we go. Just saying thank you. Just drop and say thanks. Well, thank you for always being here. Glad it's working out. Samantha sounds like she's on the right track. Getting Nico back. Already up by 2. Only going against Dalton Schultz. Yeah, I think you're good.
Yeah, you should be good.
Definitely should be good.
All right, so let's not give any premature congrats, but think you got it, Samantha. Dustin, down 22.7 with Lamb.
Yeah, I mean, there's always a chance, but if I had to bet, I'd sadly have to bet against you, Dustin. But I'll be pulling for you tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it's not outside the realm of possibility, but yeah, 22.7 for a full PPR. I mean, we've seen Cooper Rush be able to pull this off before 2 years ago. Can he do it now against a fairly good Texans defense? It'll be close. It'll be close. Actually, I don't think it'll be all that close, but
no, I don't know if it'll be close. Maybe he can at least get you some points. Sammy, frustrated with all these receivers. Yeah, aren't we all? Traded Debo for Jennings and not regretting it. Well, let's talk that. I mean, I kind of skeeted this. That's right. I said it. Keith, you know what I'm talking about. Skeeted this. Okay, maybe everyone doesn't know. On Blue Sky, no. I posted that Jennings is clearly the wide receiver 1 in San Francisco now. I think that's just a fact now. I mean, can we deny it since the last 2 weeks since the bye? That's what it seems like. Do you think this is going to change?
No. Why would it change? Here's what I think the issue for Debo is. Like Jennings, clearly the number 1. If you just look at the numbers, I mean, okay, he's clearly number 1. But if you watch any of the game, when it's like 3rd and 7, or Brock Purdy is scrambling, Jennings is the guy he's looking for. Like he's the guy that he trusts. Jennings is the guy that Purdy obviously trusts. So yeah, Debo, I maybe my biggest regret, and I mean, I certainly had some wrong calls this weekend, no doubt about it. But I think my biggest regret was still saying even though every fiber of I even said on the stream so many times, like I just want to say Jennings over Debo. But because his name is Debo Samuel, I'll just say Debo. Hey, I'm done with that. I don't care what his name is. Juwan Jennings is the wide receiver one here, hands down, and might end up being the waiver wire pickup of the year, to be honest.
Yep, he might be the Kyron Williams, granted a late one, but the guy you've got like the best waiver wire pickup you could have made.
Yep.
The way Debo's used is just there'll be games where he will go off. This just was not one of them. And yeah, to your point, like if they're trying to get long, like 3rd and 7 or something like a long play, Purdy's looking to Jennings and he will look to Kittle down the line.
Sure.
Jennings, I think, is definitely going to be the guy going forward. He'll be more consistent and less volatile than Debo for sure, at a bare minimum. But yeah, if you were to ask me whether or not Jennings outscores Debo rest of the season, I would say yes.
Yep. And that's like you mentioned, those long plays. That's why they call it 3rd and Juwan. That's what they go to. And Samantha, hey, good on you. She said she benched Debo this week. I mean, it was tough, right? Because obviously, same offense. You'd figure Debo would be at least as involved. And I don't know. To me, it's less about Jennings. It's more about why hasn't Debo been as involved? Who knows? I think it's just maybe some trust issues. Who knows? Kyle. Condolences, Kyle. I see you have a Bengals avatar there. Are we dropping Tillman for Elijah Moore? I don't think so.
I don't think so. Nah.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
I mean, it seems like an overreaction to one game. Tillman will still be fine. Drone, would you trade either Jason, D-Hop, or Mooney for Chase Brown, Howard Tracy, or Jonathan Taylor?
I would trade any 3 of those guys for Chase Brown, any 3 of those guys for JT. Tracy's a little closer because we are now going to get Tommy DeVito, which I can't say is, it's hard to say anything's a downgrade from Daniel Jones, but I know it's certainly not an upgrade.
Right.
Yeah, I think I'm with you there. Although JSN, I know we call him Just Say No. He may be somebody I'm backtracking on a little bit. I think I haven't done enough research on the Seahawks schedule to make a judgment call on him, but he does look like the quality wide receiver 2 on the Seahawks. But yeah, if I'm running back needy, and I was going to say, your running backs are Barkley, Monty, Mostert, and your wide receivers are okay. Yeah, you got 3 quality wide receivers and only 2 running backs and a guy who's probably droppable at this point. So, yeah, I would make the move for sure. Yeah, JSN's the only one that I'm kind of like maybe I want to hang on to, and maybe Mooney as well. But D-Hop, yeah, I'll trade him for any one of these 3 guys for sure.
Yeah. I'm actually with you on JSN. I talk about this in tonight's video too. I'm like, all right, I guess this is it. Like, I thought for sure JSN would flop this week with DK Metcalf back in the 49ers, and he didn't. But here's why I'm like, I would have no hesitation getting Chase Brown. Since Zach Moss has gotten injured, Chase Brown, his expected fantasy points in those 3 games is 81. The next closest is Alvin Kamara at 66. Like, he is lapping the field at running back. They do not have anybody on that roster that they trust outside of Chase Brown. Like, literally, they don't. It's not Khalil Herbert, obviously not going to be a thing. I don't even know. It is Chase Brown out there like 90% of the time, getting every carry, getting every backfield reception. Like, I just think Chase Brown in any other year where running backs actually get hurt, Chase Brown would be potentially a top 3 running back rest of the season. But because this year all the running backs haven't gotten hurt, it's like, well, okay, but Chase Brown to me could like JSN, I think will be good rest of the season, but Chase Brown to me looks like an absolute league winner.
Right. That's why we're big on him in draft season, preseason. We need the upside, right? Going for upside, he's got it. I would just say I would do any of these for JT. I would probably do any of these for Chase Brown. And I would probably do Mooney for Tracy, maybe D-Hop, but probably that's it. All right, so we knew this was coming. I was just going to wait till he surfaced. And you knew that as soon as we mentioned the name Taysom Hill, juice was going to come up. And here he is. Take your bow. No, I don't think you're a week off. I think every week you call it a Taysom week, but here you go.
Right. No, definitely take your bow this week, though. That was definitely a Taysom week. That was definitely.
I mean, we might be in Taysom season going forward.
I don't know if I'm ready for Taysom season. Please no. Please no.
And just needs the reassurance. Up by only 89 going against Tank Dell, but also the best kicker in the game, Brandon Aubrey. What do you think?
You might sweat a little tonight, but I think you'll pull it out.
Yeah.
Just 89 points. I don't know. Brandon Aubrey, I hear, is the best kicker in football. I mean, he's going to totally surpass Boswell for sure. For sure. You're safe.
Yeah. You never know, though. That kick that might come down to the wire and the sun gets in his eye, that might be the difference. Tyler C.
The moon's going to get in his eye?
The moon's going to get somehow find Jerry Jones will find a way to make it happen where he flubs the kick. Okay, Tyler, what do we think about starting Pacheco and Evans in week 12? I mean, I think if you got him, you play him. But look, he's got Sun God, Evans, Flowers, Jennings, D-Hop, Connor, Cook, Bucky, and Pacheco.
Yeah, I'm definitely starting Evans if he plays. Pacheco, I'm going to take away. I know it's the Panthers, and you want to play Pacheco, but he's coming off a pretty significant knee injury or leg injury here. I don't expect he's going to get a full workload this week. So Pacheco, I'm going to be a little cautious on. I'm going to say more like a flex start this week just because of the matchup. But if Evans goes, I'm playing Evans for sure.
Yeah, I mean, my first thoughts here, if you got 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, and a flex, Pacheco is off my radar. I'm starting Connor Cook for running back. And your wide receiver, you've got Sun God, Evans. He's absolutely in there. And then really it's more of a question of Flowers or Jennings in your flex, both of whom I like more than Pacheco this week. Because, we don't know what the usage for Pacheco looks like. Granted, Pacheco runs like a madman. But I don't think we're going to see a full-fledged workload, especially with how Kareem Hunt has looked. He's looked passable. It's not like they're going to need Pacheco to beat the Panthers. At least I hope not. But there'd be a bigger upset in football if the Panthers beat the Chiefs.
No. Oh, yeah. I mean, exactly. Pacheco, Hunt has been solid. He's been solid. It's going to be probably 50-50 split or at least close to that. So I will say this because you're looking for 2 running backs. Connor, you're still wanting to start Connor. Cook is on bye, but I actually really like Bucky this week. I think I would start Bucky over Pacheco because he's got a great spot. He's been really good, so I don't think I would start Pacheco. But, yeah, you want to start Evans. Yuya Oda. Okay, thoughts on Jerry Jeudy? We did talk about Jeudy a lot in the beginning, but let's recap here. Will it continue? And P.S., thank you.
I mean, I think the Browns might. It's a long play. I definitely want to see it again before I'm throwing Jeudy in my lineups on a full-time basis. Week 12 is a bye-mageddon week, so you might have to. Do I think it continues? I mean, the thing with Jeudy is that his time in Denver, he really was kind of used wrong and not used to his skill set. Jeudy will thrive in the slots. And as long as he's in there, I think he's got potential to be a startable flex. So again, especially with how the Browns have been throwing the ball the past couple weeks and just how ineffective their rushing game has been. I definitely would want to look for other options, but week 12 with all the buys, you might have to start Jeudy. Do I expect it going forward? No, but it could happen. It could happen.
Yeah, I mean, if your question is, will we get the Jeudy we got this weekend every weekend again? No, definitely not. We might not get that Judy rest of the season, to be honest. But this is 21 targets the last 2 weeks, and he was solid last week. I think he had 7 catches for 70-something yards. I think with Jameis Winston, Jerry Jeudy at least gives you a floor in your PPR leagues, and he obviously has some upside. So if that's what you mean by will his performance continue, I think so, because he seems to be the number one target here. So I think he at least will give you a decent floor rest of the season.
Right. Look, without that 89-yard touchdown, he would have gotten exactly what I expected that he would have gotten. But those plays can happen because Jameis Winston will always look deep first and foremost. So he does have some upside every week. But again, I kind of warn Jerry Jeudy, Elijah Moore, Cedric Tillman. They have a brutal schedule against wide receivers, basically the rest of the season. So that's where you have to temper expectations. So I definitely don't expect it this weekend, especially because it's not even the weekend. They play Thursday against the Steelers. That's a really tough matchup already. So he's a flex option who'll give you a floor. Is still the way I would view him. And then Blair Davis, unfortunately, says he won't be making the playoffs. Is it okay to still set my lineups just to be engaged? All right.
Course.
So this is a little etiquette thing here. Thoughts, guys?
Yeah, I always continue to set my lineups for the rest of the season when I'm out of it.
I mean, it varies from league to league for me. I definitely set my lineups regardless. Depending on what's going on, though, generally I'll make waiver claims if needed, but I'm not going to throw like a ton of fab on somebody or and I won't make trades. If I'm eliminated from the playoffs, I will not make trades. But yeah, as far as setting your lineups go, definitely do that because I mean, like you're just kind of hurting the continuity of the league by not. I can't really imagine a reason why it's frowned upon to just set your lineup.
Yeah, you should definitely set your lineup.
Yeah, just set the lineup so that you're not giving, your opponent easy win. There's nothing worse on the other side. You've been on it where you're in a league and then you're going to set your little lineup or you look at your matchup and you see the guy's got there's quarterbacks on bye or he's got someone who's on IR in his lineup. You're like, come on, just like you can't even enjoy your victory because it didn't matter what you did. So set your lineup, make a waiver move if you need to fill a roster spot because your guy is hurt or something, just to make it so that you're active, but don't go to the extreme either. Like you said, this is why we have trade deadlines, right? So that way somebody week 13, week 14 in last place, winless team isn't making trades with the first place team. That's why they're trade deadlines. But just, yes, definitely set your lineups. Sorry, Blair. Hopefully next year we'll pull it out.
Yep.
Let's draft Taysom Hill nice and early. TKF Lamb 3. All right. Also, Texans defense this time only 7.5. Feel better?
Yeah, I think you got a shot. This will be it'll be a sweat because even 8 for a defense is still a pretty good game. That means they didn't give up a whole lot of scoring because defensive scoring is completely broken in fantasy football. But you got a chance tonight for sure.
Yeah, I'd feel better about a 7.5 if Will Anderson were playing because that way, like that, they'd probably generate that in sacks alone, and then you just have to worry about whether or not the Cowboys score big, which I don't think they're going to. That said, I mean, a pick six or a scoop and score play will get you the win right there pretty much. So,
yep.
Yeah, I think you got a fairly decent shot.
Yeah. You should have a very good chance. Again, never know with defense how the scoring works and what your league settings are, but decent chance. I mean, this will come down to the wire though, but yeah, Cowboys offense, not too scary. Okay, more Taysom. Lotus Productions. Can you drop Tyjae Spears for Taysom? Yeah.
Yeah. What is Tyjae Spears giving you? Go for it.
Yeah, concussed. I mean, Pollard didn't exactly light the world on fire last week either, but I mean, I'm not expecting anything major out of Spears without a Pollard injury. I'd definitely drop him for Taysom in a heartbeat.
Yes, no need to keep Tyjae Spears. And then Jenga. What do we do with Audric Estime? And talk about, I can't even call him a bust because he didn't get on the field enough to bust. Like, I don't know. What do you do here?
I think you still hold unless there's somebody really good on the waiver wire you're going to pick up. I mean, he wasn't completely invisible. He certainly was not the lead back, that's for sure. But I mean, he's still, the path to him being relevant is still only Javonte Williams. So I think unless there's somebody really good to pick up, then sure, drop him. But if you're going to drop him for like just some kind of stash, I'd probably just hold Estime.
Sean Payton might be the coach I hate the most as far as fantasy football is concerned. He doesn't seem to have a particular favorite in mind and just wants to ride the hot hand, which means good luck figuring out who the lead guy is. I expect at some point down the line, Jaleel McLaughlin is going to lead this backfield and carries at some point. I wouldn't – it depends on your format and settings and who you're dropping Estime for. But, I mean, like, if you're dropping him from Taysom Hill, yes, absolutely do that. And I think if it's a full PPR league, you can drop Estime for a good amount of players just because I don't think he has that high pass-catching floor you want out of a running back. And yeah, that'll also get you out of the Sean Payton headache.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't put him on the cut list. I think we can wait one more week, but I'm okay just completely ignoring this backfield. Just pretend it doesn't exist. I don't need to worry about it. Hey, you remember a lot of experts and analysts were all in on Jaleel McLaughlin this draft season.
Yes.
He was the guy. He was the one. And he's now. The answer is nobody. Let's do Driz silent and Joker Otten next week.
Ooh. I was not prepared to have my start sit spreadsheet up already.
So Njoku against the Steelers and Otten against the Giants, which I'm going Otten.
Yeah, I think Otten, even with Evans probably back, he's still no other wide receiver has stepped up here. I think he'll still get a ton of targets. Yeah, I'm gonna go Otten.
Yeah, pretty much for that reason. Like nobody's going to fill the void that Chris Godwin left, but Otten's the closest thing they have to somebody who is going to do that. You might take a little off of Rashad White's plate, but yeah, Otten I still think is a tight end one rest of season.
Exactly. Yeah, Otten. I think, well, Mike Evans is coming back, but Chris Godwin's not. And so he's got one wide receiver that he's competing for targets with. Now all of a sudden, Njoku's got three. That's actually a little worrisome for Njoku. Now I'm a little worried that he's not a set and forget tight end because of all those receivers getting so many targets. But yeah, the matchup also favors Otten. Let's go Otten. Sven Dragon, what's up? Needs a tight end. Drop. Okay. Would you drop QJ, Etienne, or Ingram to get a guy like Jonnu or Will Dissly? Who are we dropping here?
I'm dropping Etienne and I'm picking up Dissly against the Ravens.
I'm definitely dropping Etienne. Real question is whether or not I pick up Jonnu or Dissly. Who are the Dolphins getting this week? They are
Patriots.
And the Chargers get
Ravens.
Yeah, I'll go Dissly. And yeah, I'm dropping Etienne. I'm not even worried about it. I would only drop Ingram if we hear anything that T-Law's done for the year. If it's Mac Jones in there, yeah, I'll drop Ingram and go with either one of these guys. But yeah, Etienne is absolutely on the cut list for sure.
Yep. Agree there. You can drop any and all Jaguars except for BTJ. I mean, I honestly think you could drop Ingram because Jonnu has been better than Ingram, and I don't know if he'll be significantly better when T-Law comes back. Evan Ingram, he'll be fine, but I would drop Etienne. I would probably pick up Jonnu.
Real quick. I just want to say this about Evan Ingram. When T-Law was healthy, Evan Ingram was a no doubt must start tight end.
But that's because Doug Peterson is a known tight end lover, and he's gone.
Well, that's true. He's not gone. He's not gone yet. He's still there.
T-Law
Hasn't been
always has
fired
been a
yet.
good. T-Law's been a
Fired yet.
tight end lover himself, so I don't like if Doug Peterson gets the axe, and he should. I don't see Ingram's usage dropping off, especially on that offense. They got no Christian Kirk. The long range guy will be BTJ. The short range guy will be Ingram.
Yeah, but I still like Jonnu and Disley. So I just don't like all the Ingram slander with T-Law because because Ingram was like a no doubt must start tight end, and then T-Law got hurt. So if T-Law comes back, why do we?
Yeah, well, there you go. All right, I'm fine dropping Etienne.
Yeah, Etienne's been a drop for weeks.
Yeah, too much Jaguar action on your team. All right, Dion managed to pick up Brock Bowers. I assume you mean trade for, which is great and unexpected. There's no way somebody dropped Brock Bowers, but there probably is a way. So you've got to drop one of them. What?
Well, you can't. You got to roll with Brock Bowers.
Why? Yeah, it's definitely Bowers. It's what kind of league do you have to drop one of these two guys? Like, both of them have been so good that they're good flex options. I mean, unless this is an 8-man league or something. But yeah, if I got to pick one, I'm going Bowers.
Yeah, not sure what is, like you said, this must be a shallow league, but if it's non-PPR, drop the guy who isn't scoring touchdowns. That would be McBride. Brother Pickle. Welcome, Brother Pickle. PPR. Drop Noah Brown, sure. For Leggett, Butte, Bourne, Vele, or any random Broncos receiver because they all scored. Also have Papa and Elijah Moore as backup receivers. Okay, so Keith, who do you like? Who do you not like?
Like Leggett, like Butte. I'm not sure what to make of Bourne, but I'm fine dropping Noah Brown. I'm fine dropping Noah Brown for everybody other than Vele, unless this is a dynasty league. And even a dynasty, he's a 26-year-old rookie, so there's that. But yeah, the thing with the Broncos wide receivers is just it's after Sutton, it just gets so messy after him. So I don't see any of those guys, anybody in that backfield really emerging as a guy I'd really want to have in my lineup. Bourne had a nice welcome back week, but Butte has been decent for a few weeks running now, but I think I like the overall upside of Leggett rest of season.
Yeah, the problem with the Patriots wide receivers, they get the Dolphins this week. That Dolphins secondary has been really good. It's just hard to know who to trust week in and week out. I mean, I'd probably just go Leggett as well. You can drop Noah Brown for pretty much anybody, though.
Yeah, I'll go Leggett. I'm not trusting the Broncos wide receivers any more than I trust their running backs. It's the same thing. It's like, who knows, week to week. There's no consistency there outside of Sutton. And, Kendrick Bourne might be kind of interesting because you figure he would be the number one guy there, right? And he's fine. He's coming back. We knew this would take a while, a couple of weeks, right? Coming back from a season-ending injury. He looks pretty good last week. He might emerge, but not this week. And I would still prefer Leggett. Let's do Andrea because she's always here. So with Josh Allen to buy, who's the streamer? Darnold, May, or Caleb Williams?
Let's see. Drake May gets the Dolphins. Darnold gets the Bears. Caleb gets the Vikings.
Yeah, I said earlier, I'm very hesitant to start Caleb Williams in fantasy because despite looking better in real life, there's just no fantasy points here for him. You know what I mean? It's just still very limited. They definitely tried to establish the run, which was smart, and it pretty much worked, right? They make that field goal, they win. And then he gets the Vikings. It's probably going to be on his back a little bit more this week. So it's like Darnold or May.
Man, these are your best choices.
Yeah,
Donald's coming off a nice game, but man, Bears. I don't know. My first instinct was honestly Caleb Williams. He had 7. Is that right? He had 70 rushing yards.
Yeah, he had a good amount of rushing yards this past week.
And I know they had designed runs for him, like designed runs. I know he didn't throw a touchdown.
I am leaning Caleb for the rushing upside, although May has looked good. It wouldn't surprise me if he outscores either of these guys. And obviously, Darnold, you can trust in Justin Jefferson. But, yeah, the Bears have played pretty solid defense against quarterbacks and against wide receivers. So that could be dicey. And these being your best choices, man, this is brutal.
Yeah, this is rough.
I think I would go with Caleb. I'm intrigued by the rushing upside. If they have more designed runs for him, then he will definitely be the best pick of these three.
Yeah, there's actually a lot of good things. And I talk about this on tonight's video too. A lot of good things. They ran pre-snap motion 66% of the time. With Shane Waldron, it was like 37% of the time. It's like everybody just stand there and run. They didn't have any 3 and outs yesterday for the first time all year. 52% success rate. Now I know it didn't translate to a big Caleb Williams game, but I feel like against the Vikings, there's opportunities. And they might have to throw. I don't know. I just worry. Sam Darnold just always terrifies me in these tough matchups because it's like, are we going to get Sam Darnold throwing 3 interceptions? And you're like, what have I done? What have I done? I don't know. Maybe May is the safest bet, but I'm kind of feeling Caleb Williams out of these guys. Maybe I'm wrong though.
Yeah, we never know with these three. I already said what I'm thinking on Caleb. I'm a little worried against this defense. I'd say between the other two, both have tough matchups. I think they're both on the road too. But to me, the tiebreaker is that rushing upside, and that's why I like Drake May, because I think he can scramble for some yards against the Dolphins. Yeah, it's a good thing you got Josh Allen coming back after this week.
Yes.
Dustin needs 3 for next week. It's a 10-teamer. Do I see 11-0? We undefeated here? Very nice.
Nice.
All right. Barkley, Walker, Tracy, Bucky, Ramondre, pick 3.
Got to start Barkley. I think Walker, not a must start, but like pretty close. Then I think I go Tracy or Ramondre? I do like Ramondre's matchup. Although I will say the Bucks haven't been good against the run this year. I might go Tracy over Ramondre, but that one is close.
I think I would take Ramondre over Tracy personally. If for no other reason than the Bucks are coming off their bye, they're rested, they may be healthier on defense. It is very close between Tracy and Ramondre, and Barkley and Kenneth Walker definitely locks for sure. It's really a question of Ramondre and Tracy for me, and I'm leaning Ramondre.
Well, I'm going to go. I actually really like Bucky this week, but I'm going to go with the first 3. I mean, obviously, you've got to start Barkley. You're going to start Walker. I'm going to go Tracy. I think he's just looked so good. Like you said, Tommy DeVito doesn't scream upgrade, but it's also not a downgrade. At least he can protect the ball, maybe fumble it a little bit less, maybe not make as many horrible passes. So I think they're going to lean on the running game. So I like Tracy. Cody has an open spot. Are we picking up Taysom Hill? Yes. I mean, you like any of these? Great. Keith, you already said you got, even if you don't need a tight end, basically you're just picking up Taysom Hill to have him.
Pretty much, but also he's got other guys on waivers like Wandale, Tillman, and Thielen. And Wandale is a pretty risky play with Tommy DeVito, but at the same point, though, he's going up against the Bucks. That's a matchup that can't really be ignored. if you've got Kelsey, I'm picking up Taysom Hill, but I'm also assuming these guys aren't on waiver as well. I'd pick up Taysom over Thielen, but over Wandale and Tillman, I'm not doing that. Again, it's more dependent on your whole lineup, but I think I want a piece of Wandale this week. I'd roll him out there. I think he could surprise people this week, especially if we get the good Italian playing QB.
I'm going to go Tillman, actually, just because I still like Tillman the most rest of the season. Like Wandale maybe this week, but I don't know. I never get excited about Wandale. Like, just always feels like a floor play. I think I'd rather just gamble on Tillman here, even though I know they have a tough schedule, but I think in this offense, he has with Jameis, he has the most upside here. So I would go Tillman, but not Taysom over these guys.
Well, he says he's got an open spot on the bench. I'm assuming you don't need to start one of these guys, and then if it's the same team, Cody's just ridiculously stacked. So just take the best player with the most upside, which is still probably Tillman. I mean, you can add Taysom Hill, sure. Doug Fenton is up 37, going against Nico and Schultz. You got it?
You should. I mean, unless Nico just goes off. Schultz, I don't expect to do much tonight, so Nico would have to go off.
Yeah, I mean, if we're thinking like 9-10 points for Schultz, and even if Nico were to score 25, that wouldn't be enough. I think you got a good shot.
37 is a pretty comfortable lead. I think you got it. Andrew Gill is ahead, just barely. I have Nico. He has Mixon and Tolbert. Go have a chance. Well, yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Well, that's looking terrible right now. Obviously, that's Sorry about that.
That predicting the Packers.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Didn't Kraft get a 0 this week? Did he even oh my god.
He didn't even get a target.
Ridiculous. Yeah, as far as the matchup here, this is gonna definitely be a sweat. Nico Mixon could be close, and then it comes down to does Tolbert do anything?
Yeah, I'm not expecting Tolbert to do anything, but I still think you have a good chance with Nico. So
I think Nico outscores both Mixon and Tolbert if I had to put money down on this.
Yeah, let's hope you pull it out and make up for the gaffe of benching ridiculousness that is Taysom Hill. Derek Gonzalez, what's up with Tony Pollard? What is up?
I don't know. I mean, I know what happened 2 weeks ago. He basically didn't play the entire second quarter with a knee injury. And I know he's been on the injury report. So maybe he's not 100% right now. I don't know. Definitely not his best game.
We've kind of seen this in the past with Pollard. He's not really a guy who's equipped to handle a full bell cow role. And when he does, he tends to struggle down the stretch. I'm not necessarily out on him rest of the season, but not only is he hurt, he also had a bad matchup against the Vikings as well. They are very good against the run.
Yes.
I think he's still an RB2. Just maybe need to temper expectations with him rest of the season.
Yeah, I think he's had a couple of really tough matchups in a row, and he's not been 100%. You got to take that into account. Even though he's played, doesn't mean he's full health, and unfortunately has another pretty tough matchup against the Texans' run defense next week. But I think eventually he'll get back to looking more like he did early in the season. So don't panic too much. We talked about Jennings earlier. Brian, what's up, Brian? Saved the number 1 rolling waiver in our endgame league and wound up getting Jennings. So that paid off. This is why you hold on to it.
That's definitely going to pay off.
Nice. Basic money. Good evening. Thoughts on DeVito? Are you picking up? Are you stashing him? I'm assuming you're talking super flex only.
No, I mean, I am going to reluctantly say he's the bare minimum start in a super flex league this week, only because number one, we've got
I think 6
Joe
teams on bye
Burrow,
this week.
Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Derek Carr. I think every team that's on bye this week has like a fantasy viable QB, and also because it's the Bucks. But Tommy DeVito averaged 9.4 points per game last year. Like, I'm only gonna say he's startable in Superflex because it's week 12 with all the buys. If there weren't all these teams on bye, there's no chance Tommy DeVito would be in my lineup.
You mean you're not looking forward to Thanksgiving and seeing the Tommy DeVito versus Cooper Rush game?
Oh, that's going to be so hard. Can they flex? Can they flex Thanksgiving games? Is that possible? Can we flex out Thanksgiving games?
No, that's
That game on
prime dinner
Thanksgiving.
time out here. We'll be sitting down at turkey,
God.
TV's going off. I'll be eating food, and then I don't know. I forget what the late game is on Thanksgiving, but yeah, that'll be a good time to sit down and pick out.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, hopefully you're in a turkey coma by that time, and you don't have to worry about it. But I think the short answer is no, not really. Get the next super chat, but first, it should be noted Quincy Jones, Keith, because you're the dude at the bottom, has a rocking stash. So
Thank you, appreciate that.
Also, Taysom Hill or K-Dot in the rest of the season.
Oh, why? We need to create a thing with no more Taysom Hill questions. See, the problem with the problem with Taysom Hill questions is you can never be right.
No,
nope. It's impossible to be right. Because when you say no to Taysom Hill, he's going to go off. And then when you say, like, yeah, start Taysom Hill, he's going to, like, just completely suck. I mean, but I think I still have to go Otten here in PPR. Like, I think Otten, even with Evans back, he's going to be the number 2 target in that offense.
It did say we have Taysom Hill season, but Otten is a guy that I will take above Taysom on a week-to-week basis. Here's the other thing with Taysom, too. I mean, sure. Right now, he's kind of got the Swiss Army knife role and is looking like the lead receiver and the RB2 on the Saints. But Kendre Miller will be back, and I do expect that's going to take some carries away from him eventually. Chris Olave is another guy that may come back and may end up impacting this receiving room. If I knew for a fact that Chris Olave was done for the season, I'd feel a little bit better about Taysom Hill full season long. But, yeah, I think Otten long-term is the play for sure.
You know, we've heard of Murphy's Law, right? This is called Taysom's Law, right? Whoever you start, when you know that guy's got to go off, let's say, I don't know, Russell Wilson, he's going to bust, and vice versa. It's just, there is no right answer with Taysom Hill. So,
nope.
I won't answer. John Wickering, so mad last minute, took out Jennings, replaced him with D-Hop. But why? All right, need Lamb to score 28 points. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it sounded like you were down anyways. Not sure. Maybe that wouldn't have made a difference. Who knows? But look, sometimes
it might have, because D-Hop got 5 and Jennings got like 20 something.
Yeah, trying to spin it here.
So it might have made a difference. But yeah, look, hey, first place, second place, it doesn't really matter, assuming both get the bye. Just get the bye, right? Just get the bye.
Yeah. You never know. You never know. Sometimes you got to go with your gut. Sometimes your gut's right, and sometimes your gut's wrong. Ginyu Force already won, even starting London over Juwan. All right. And London wasn't too bad. Still have Collins and a kicker. Picked up Higgins on waivers somehow. Trade Tracy and London for HN.
Is that a league you were in, Pierre? Did you drop T. Higgins?
It was not. I already traded away all my T. Higgins shares.
Which, thank you for that, Pierre, by the way.
You're welcome. Hey, I have CMC at least. At least he finally came back.
Yeah, he came back, but when were you going to get CMC again?
Yeah. who knows? Well, anyways,
Anyway, back to
Tracy in
this.
London for Achan. I mean, it seems fair.
Yeah. I don't know. I think this comes down to like your team, what you need. I know London wasn't very good this week, but come on, it was Pat Surtain. Like we knew he wasn't going to be very good. We called him, I put him in the flex tier, and I pretty much said no to London on almost every question this weekend, unless it was like, London or I don't know, like Deontay Johnson or something.
Yeah, this feels like a big overreaction. Tracy and London for Achan. I don't think there's any way I do this. I'm not expecting London to be like a wide receiver 3 or flex option at any point. I think he's going to be fine rest of season. Tracy to Achan is a nice upgrade, but London is way too high a price to pay for that.
Well, I'll say this depends. If Tracy's like your third, fourth running back, you're never really starting him. I think it's fine if this upgrades your quality at running back. It feels fair to me. But I'm wondering because Guinea, you're always on here, at least lately. I don't think we would have said London over Jawan. I'm pretty sure we didn't. So
I remember I even remember thinking like yesterday morning when we were on the show, I'm like, man, I've said yes to Juwan Jennings so much this week. Please don't bust. Like, please don't bust.
Yeah.
Because I was like, man, because I had him I was like, this is going to be a good Juwan Jennings week. So there's no way I would have, because London I was saying no to repeatedly. So.
Right. And back to John Wickering, clarifying, had I started McConkey or Jennings, I'd be second. And I mean, hindsight.
McConkey I get. Yeah, McConkey I get not starting him. And look, McConkey didn't go off. He had a nice game, but he didn't like go crazy.
No. And also Richardson vulturing JT. I mean, it kind of happened, but I don't think that's an issue going forward. JT's still going to be fine.
Yeah, he'll be fine.
He'll still get his for sure.
All right, Elmer has Bijan, I guess Kamara. Both have bye next week. Irving, my only other RB. Okay. Wide receivers are T. Hill, Nico, Higgins, Pickens. They offered Najee for my Pickens. No.
They are trying to take advantage of you. Don't do this.
No.
Yeah, don't fall for the trap of, I've got all my guys on bye this week and I need to win, especially at 7-4. If you're 7-4, you can take an L. You can probably even take 2 L's and still make the playoffs fairly comfortably. I mean, it depends on your league, of course. But, I think, like, if you're in a 12-team league and 6-man playoffs, which is, I'd say, the normal format, 8-6 is fine. You're usually making the playoffs with that record in most circumstances. But back to this, Najee for Pickens. I want Pickens.
Just pick up Rashawn Johnson. He got pretty heavily involved yesterday, and even though it's the Vikings, he always has a chance to at least score a touchdown. He can at least, has a chance to score for you. Just pick up Rashawn Johnson for 1 week, roll him out. Like he said, if you win, if you lose, you're 7-5, you're still okay. And then you have Bijan and Kamara rest of the season, and you still have Pickens. Most importantly.
Yeah. You don't want to make trades just for 1 week. It's just 1 week. It will pass. Look long term. Jay 1364 down 18, but got Dell and Fairbairn. I mean, you definitely got a chance.
You got a chance. I mean, if Fairbairn gets you 10, let's just say, and that means Dell's only got to get 8 or 9 points. It's full PPR. I think you got a chance, definitely.
It'll definitely be a sweat, but you definitely got a chance for sure.
Lunchbox 57. Does DeVito help or hurt neighbors? We're all hoping it helps, but that's a very fair question. We have not seen this connection, if you want to call it that. DeVito, again, it's like, can it be worse? But then it could be worse, but is it going to be worse, Chris?
It might not be worse, but it's not better. There's just no world where Tommy DeVito is better for neighbors. Maybe it's not worse, but I don't think it's better for neighbors. It could be worse.
It always could be worse, but I mean, one aspect, maybe this is pure hopium here, but DeVito never got to play with Neighbors last year. So maybe he is going to be better with Neighbors in the lineup. He certainly didn't have, or no one was even close to Neighbors' quality of receiver last year. So Daniel Jones might have blown it. Will DeVito blow it? Maybe he won't. Maybe he will.
Yeah, there's no way to know, but I will say this, at least we have in the recent past, last year, seen Tommy DeVito play and not horribly suck in the NFL. Like, remember, he had that one really good game and they were like, hey, we're back. And then he turned to a backup quarterback. But he has shown that, like, you know, not like some backup quarterbacks, like, oh, I don't know, Tim Boyle, who has never, ever done anything positive ever and has not even gone a game without turning the ball over. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, there's zero chance like anything good will happen when he's in the game. I don't know. Skylar Thompson, has he ever done anything good? But anyways, at least Tommy DeVito has looked competent in the NFL. And like you said, Keith, he didn't even have Malik Neighbors last year. That was last year's Giants wide receiver core. So I got some optimism here. I think somewhat rational optimism, a little bit.
If I can remain the pessimist.
Yeah.
If you remember how that terrible Giants wide receiver core looked when Tyrod Taylor came back, they actually looked pretty good. When Tyrod Taylor came back late in the season, they actually looked okay. Darius Slayton had some nice games that he didn't have with Tommy DeVito. And you're right. Tommy DeVito had one nice game last year, 246 yards, 3 touchdowns. He did not top 190 yards any other game last year. So I don't know. Maybe I'll be wrong. I think we're just going to look, you know, Neighbors as a 2025 play. I think he'll be okay. Like they'll target him so much that he'll be fine, but I don't think he's going to be any different than what he was with Daniel Jones, honestly.
Well, there's only one way to find out. Just pick him up and start him in your lineup. No, don't do that. All right.
Well,
So
we're getting
that won't help anybody. So boom, we're getting the conversation back on track as it should be to streaming tight ends. Disley or Noah Gray?
Noah Gray. Where did Noah Gray come from? Yeah, just give me Disley against the Ravens.
Yeah, Noah Gray might have caught 2 touchdowns, but I only have any interest in him in Dynasty. Redraft, no thanks.
This is the only one I answer. It's got to be Will Disley. There you go. John Wickering also having Auden. Would you stash Jonnu Smith if you already have Auden?
I mean, it depends who you're dropping. If you're dropping like Deontay Johnson, like somebody you're never going to start for Jonnu Smith, because like, what if something happens to Auden? What if he gets hurt? It'd be nice to have Jonnu Smith and not have to fight for him on the waiver wire. So if you're dropping like a complete nobody, sure, but I wouldn't drop anybody worthwhile just to get a backup tight end.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at this like thinking flex options maybe, and if Jonnu Smith is legitimately the best flex option on your waiver wire, which he might be. I mean, I don't like rostering backup tight ends in most leagues, and usually don't, but there are some cases where a tight end is the best flex option out there in some leagues. So if he's the best on a pure flex standpoint, sure, but just to stash Jonnu Smith in case of an injury to Otten, I don't hate this if you're, like Chris said, I don't hate this if you're a stat, like if you're dropping a complete and utter nobody.
Right. Yeah, sometimes I'll do this even if I don't need that position. Like, I'm going to drop this guy anyways. Who's the best one out there to pick up to take his place? If that's your best, sure, why not? Kenny 49ers wants to know how many points you expect out of Rico Dowdle tonight.
6 or 12. 6 if he doesn't score, 12 if he does.
Every time I'm ready to crap on Rico Dowdle, he always scores a touchdown. So I am ready to crap on him this week, so I guess that means he's probably scoring a touchdown. But, yeah, my expectations for him are not high. This run defense on the Texans is good. They have a lot of pieces. Their linebacking core is awesome. I I think the only hope for him is a screenplay that turns into a touchdown. And that's, you got to be praying for that.
Yeah, he was hoping it would be about 10. I will play the role of optimist tonight. I'll say I'll have exactly 11. There you go.
There you go.
I'm going to go with 6.
Oh, you're going lower end, going 6. All right, won my week and already looking ahead to next week. All right, why not? Needs 2 receivers in the flex between Harrison, Zay, Tyreek, Monty, and Chuba.
Oh, man, I think we can feel pretty good about Tyreek now. I'm not ready to say no doubt must start just yet, but I still think he's a strong start. Zay Flowers was, I think Tillman and Zay Flowers were the only booms that didn't boom this week. Zay Flowers didn't bust, but he certainly did not boom. Zay Flowers is always so tough for me because this is the guy who this guy can go for 25, 30, or he can go for 5. It's just so aggravating with Flowers. Chuba has a tough matchup this week, but man, it's so hard. It's hard to bench. I might flex Chuba. Who did the Cardinals get? Seahawks, I think.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm gonna say Tyreek and Zay Flowers with Chuba at the flex, but it's still week 11 in my head. So team 6. Ask again later in the week when I have more data.
I actually would go Tyreek, Marvin Harrison, and Monty. Zay Flowers against the Chargers worries me a bit, and Chuba, not only is he going up against the Chiefs in a tough matchup, but he now has a league mate in his backfield. Jonathan Brooks is supposed to be making his debut. I don't think that's going to impact much, but Monty gets the Colts. And the Colts' run defense is still not particularly good. Breece Hall looked pretty damn good last week, and Monty can definitely score a touchdown or 2 against the Colts. So, yeah, I'm going Tyreek, Monty, and Marvin Harrison.
You know, Keith, that's exactly what I was thinking. I was going to go Tyreek, Harrison, and Monty. I like Monty's matchup. He's always good for a touchdown or 2. Chuba is just in a really tough spot. And there will be weeks where I'll go back to Zay Flowers, but this is a tough one. So that's where we're looking at. But again, things might change throughout the week.
If we want to make the case for Zay Flowers, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins just went off against the Chargers last night.
Yeah, well, but that's assuming that, they fall behind by 3 touchdowns and have to do nothing but pass throughout the second half. Because that's what the Bengals do. That's the Bengals' MO.
That is true.
Ginyu Force, Ingram on bye will have an empty bench spot due to trade, needs a streaming tight end, or for rest of season.
Well, I mean, Disley would be number 1 if he's still out there. Jonnu Smith probably be number 2. I'm finally moving Zach Ertz into the solid start tier. I'm done just saying he's a streamer. This guy has been good all year. And like we said at the beginning of the show, they don't have a wide receiver too. So I think that would be my top 3 in order.
I'd agree with that. I would see if maybe Taysom Hill is available too. But, Zach Ertz he won't help this week though, for sure.
Right. Right.
But, Zach Ertz is always like my kind of bar of whether or not a tight end is going to be good or not. Is he going to do better or worse than Zach Ertz? It's kind of like my baseline as far as whether or not I want to start this guy or not. But, Disley, I think, needs to be grabbed everywhere. Jonnu as well. And then Ertz, less exciting option, and then maybe pivot to Taysom for week 13.
Right. And I'll just say the same. Jonnu still a good pickup. Of course, Will Disley. It might not be a bad Hunter Henry week either if he's the best out there. So he's always
not worried about Austin Hooper.
Fine. I've never once in my life have I worried about Austin Hooper. I'm not about to start now. John Wickering also wants to know he was able to grab Boswell. I mean, hey, if you are going to play with kickers, at least have the guy who's doing nothing but kick field goals.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, we got just a few minutes. Monday Night Football is getting ready to start. Let's make sure we get the super chats in. Don't forget, guys, if you do have questions throughout the week, which I know you will, you may not be able to make the live streams, or you just don't want to wait for the live streams. We have an app. It's called Draft Lane. You ask your questions, we will answer them. So just put them out there, waiver wire, maybe still trade questions, whatever you got, put them out there and we'll answer. So download Draft Lane if you haven't yet. It's free on the App Store or the Google Play Store. Let's finish up with the last few.
Oops.
Make sure we get, okay, with Dion also, of course, one of our members. Yes, someone did drop Bowers, and I don't understand why. In theory, I could keep both and flex one in non-PPR.
I mean, yeah, I would rather keep both. I don't want to, like, okay, somebody gifted you Brock Bowers. I don't want to now give somebody Trey McBride.
Agreed. I don't know who you have on your roster that would be cuttable, but I'd imagine you've got somebody who is underperforming on your roster. Like, they can't all be elite guys.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. Don't gift somebody a stud tight end. Beast Mode Kane, thank you. Planted the number one, and Kittle was out. Okay, you guys told me to pick up Taysom Hill. There you go.
Right, we got
finally.
We got that Taysom right. We got that one right.
I'm glad we didn't say no to Taysom Hill on every question. I feel like we did at least sometimes say yes to Taysom Hill, but look, I'm glad. Thank you, Beast Mode Kane. This took some weight off my shoulder, actually. And also, yes, before we get out, don't forget to like and subscribe. Wow, see, it happens. You forget. Sometimes you forget. You watch and you don't realize you didn't subscribe yet.
Thank you.
And Livewire was 2-6 after the 253 massacre I put up this week. My next opponent has 80% of his team on bye. Yep, the bye-apocalypse is here. There you go. So from 2-6 to the playoffs. See, it's not how you start; it's how you finish.
Exactly. Well done.
All right.
Well done. Very well done.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's see. Let's do Zombie Blazer because that's still the best name out there. 25 points down. Gonna need Tank Dell on the defense to carry. Can you do it?
I don't know. I'll be pulling for you, but I don't know. I'm not feeling good.
Yeah, if it was Nico, I'd feel a lot better. Tank just kind of getting the scraps, I feel like. But who knows? Maybe Nico gets an eased in that is Tank this week. So
you never do know. Yeah, I didn't feel a great Tank game coming, so I really wish it was Nico instead of Tank, but you never know. Hey, you never know. The Cowboys might actually be that bad. We'll see. Maybe we'll see a Jacksonville-like performance from them. I wouldn't be shocked at this point. I mean, look, they just got embarrassed a couple weeks ago, didn't they? How much did they lose by? So, yeah, you never know. All right. I think we're all caught up. Let's leave it at that. So good luck to everybody for tonight if you need it. And check out all the videos already out. And, Start Sit coming out starting tomorrow for everything. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. And give a big shout out to our boy Keith once again, joining us on Monday night. Thank you, Keith.
Thank you.
All right. We'll see you all tomorrow for the next live stream.